Hi everyone, it's Karen and I'm back with my design team project for September for AngeldreamCraftsKim on Etsy. And this is her beautiful business card, and I will leave links to her beautiful shop in the description box below. Please check out all the talented designers that are creating beautiful and inspiring projects for AngeldreamCraftsKim, and you can find those links below in the description box. Now, what have I got planned for my design team project this month? I am going to be putting together a beautiful keepsake journal, and I'm going to be using these gorgeous digitals and all these beautiful laces that you see in front of you, and I'm going to be showing you how I put together one of the signatures and how I decorate some of the pages. And then in my second video, I will share the finished journal. So here is the second signature. I've actually completed the first signature, and I'm going to do the second signature together with you. So I have the digitals put together, and I'm also using these beautiful 6x6 envelopes as pockets for inside the journal. I will reveal more as we go along about the journal and what type of journal it is, but right now this is all I'm going to share. So that's the flip through, and that's how I've sort of put it together. I believe there's 6 pages of digitals and 4 envelopes altogether. And what I'm going to need to do is put those envelopes together with a hinge so that they actually can be sewn into the signature. So this is something that's actually, you can do this in any type of journal, and that's include envelopes, because they're just great for tuck spots, pockets, that kind of thing. And so what I'm doing is just cutting these little extra bits that are on the upper part of the envelope. They're just a pain to cover, and it's much easier to just cut them off. And if you're an inker, you could certainly do some inking. You could ink these and leave them. That's certainly up to each individual, but for me, I'm not an inker, and so I am going to cut them off. And then what I want to do is create a hinge that I can put on the envelopes so that I can make the 2 envelopes become 1 page, kind of. And then I will cover them as well. So the hinge, I think it's about a 1¼ inch hinge, or 1½, and I just fold it in half. It's just a piece of the digital papers that I used, and I'm using that to make my hinge. So just fold it in half, and then I'm gonna glue it onto the envelopes and leave just a very, very small space in between so that the envelopes can easily fold back and forth. My glue of choice is art glitter glue, and I've just got it in one of these little dispensing bottles because it's just so easy to manage, and I don't find it clogs up as much. So there's the first envelope going on, and I just fold the paper over onto it so that I know I'm close to that area, but the paper's still easy. Oh, that's easy to say. The paper still easily folds, and then I will apply glue to the other half of that hinge, and then I will put the other envelope on. And I do the same thing with all of the envelopes that I use. As I said, I used 4 in each signature, so there are 8 of them in total, 2 signatures in the journal. And I specifically am creating them to be pockets so that you can store pictures or letters or little, any kind of paper ephemera that you may want to save from. I'm not going to say any more because I want it to be a bit of a surprise as we're unfolding here. You'll see more about where this journal is going. Something to look forward to. So here is one of the digitals. These digitals are all lacy type digitals and sort of more in the tea-stained colors. I'm creating this journal to be very neutral colors, so I'm only using white, beige, cream, and taupe colors so that the person who buys it will have the ability to interject all their own color into it from whatever the memories they're putting into it. So there are two digitals that I'm using, are two different ones that I've purchased, both sort of in the lacy patterns. And so I've just going to cover the envelope now, and everybody covers envelopes differently. If you go on YouTube and watch videos of anyone doing any kind of work with envelopes, you will see people that do precise measurements. You will see people who leave a little border around the edge. You will see people that ink. You will see people that do it like I do, and that is, I don't measure because I never find it works for me. It's always the wrong measurement, or it doesn't fit properly, or whatever. So I just put the paper on and then I cut away the excess. And I just find that that works best for me. But please do whatever you find is easiest for you. And certainly if you want to try my method, then that's what I do. So I'm just measuring the excess, and I will be cutting it off so that I have a nice clean edge, and I will continue to cover the entire envelope. I am using whites as well in this whole journal, so I am not worried about the little bit of white of the envelope that may show along the edges where people sometimes ink. That's, if a little bit of white shows, that's not a problem. It's going to blend nicely with the white laces that are added, and the cream laces and all the other things that I add in. I'm also going to line the inside of these envelopes just down probably halfway, just so that it has, I like the cleaner look of that. You certainly could leave them white inside. Again, with the, if you're doing it with white laces, then it's going to complement it. But I decided that I wanted to cover the inside as well. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just measuring my way of measuring. Just mark it, fold it over, and cut it off. And because you need to be able to slide it into the envelope. So I usually err on the side of cutting it always a little bit too long, and then I slowly sliver off the edge until I get it just right. Because otherwise I find, again, that I make it too short, and then I have to start all over again because I'm never happy with that. So I think I have it right this time. Yep, it's sliding in there really nicely. And so I will slide that in, and it will get glued in place. And oh, it was catching a little bit, I see. So I'm just taking a tiny little bit off. More straightening the edge, I think, more than anything there. And so we'll get that slid inside the envelope, and then we can carry on creating this page, really, which is, this page is two envelopes that have been hinged together, which will become that page. So I'm just gluing the bottom of that page and going to push it into the envelope. This I do two different ways. Sometimes I glue the bottom and I wiggle it and get it in there. I don't usually glue the whole thing because I never find that works for me. I always get stuck and crinkled. So I glue part of it and push it into place, and then glue the rest down so that I don't get that happening. Sometimes I actually slide the paper in and then glue it while it's in place, and sometimes that works better too. So now I'm just gluing down the paper onto the actual flap of the envelope, and then I'll be trimming it all so that it all looks nice, neat, and tidy. And there was a little bit of excess that I wanted to trim off. I didn't want quite that much coming over the edge, and so that is what I've left with, and I'm just going to glue that little piece down. And then I'm going to continue covering the entire inside of the envelopes as well, using that same digital paper, and really the same method for me all the time. I do keep the covering the envelopes to the individual envelope. I don't go over the center because that creates a lot of bulk, and it becomes more of a problem when you're trying to sew in your signatures, and that I don't find that bulk is very helpful. So I usually cover each envelope separately and have a seam down that center piece. And so this is just me doing my, bodgy measuring that I do. And, in this case, I think I tore it and just did it that way. Again, these are all individual ways of doing things, and you do what makes you happy. All the bottom line is I'm covering the envelopes, and however you want to do that, that's great. I also want to put a notch in each of these because these little pockets are, I'm hoping that someone will be putting goodies inside there, and I want to make it easy. And that's another reason why I lined it, because you can see how the edge of the paper there, or the paper that I lined the envelope with, shows through the notch. So I've just used a big 2.5 inch punch that I have that was gifted to me, and I use that to punch a notch in. And here I'm just showing you how I finished off that envelope with some of that lovely, gorgeous lace from Kim's shop. This taupe lace is just absolutely scrumptious and beautiful, and I wanted to use a big piece of it and really showcase it here on the flap of this envelope. And so now I've been away and come back, and I've done a little bit more decorating. I couldn't do it all in the for the camera because it's just too much, and so I'm just going to flip through here and show you what I've done. So I made a pocket on the inside of this one, and I just completely decorated it up with pieces that I have cut apart, and that's part of the reason I can't show you it all on camera, because I spent a long time cutting up laces. I used a piece of the fabric that Kim had sent me in my design team package. This fabric is just beautiful, and I used that as the base of the flap on the side of the page here, and then I just completely decked it out with, these are all laces from Kim's shop, and they're just pieces that I have cut. I'm showing you the laces there, that beautiful bridal trim with the sequins, and then there is flowers from one of the other laces. There's the heart from this lace here, which is the cream color version of the yummy one that I just put on the side of that other pocket or envelope that we were just doing. I got both the taupe and the cream in my design team package. And then there are other laces there that I'm pointing at. Those are from another beautiful lace that I think now I'm showing you what it looks like, but now I have absolutely not any of it left except some of the very top. I've used almost every one of the, or used all the flowers from that in making this beautiful journal. And then I did a little key with some cup chain on it and a little acrylic flower and a little button on there, and added that on that pocket. And then you can see that the envelopes stick out from the pages, and that was purposeful when I wanted those to stick out. I think it looks really cool when all the pages are not all even and that things peek out. And this is one of the clothespins that I made in a previous design team package. I believe this is one that I made, and if it's not one that I made, then it's another one that I made afterwards, because I made more of them with intent of using them. And so I've just clipped that onto that page. That would allow someone to journal on the page, but also be able to clip something onto the page if they wanted. Plus it looks really pretty on the page and sticking up the top of the journal. So this is the next step, that is the next surprise with this journal, and that is I'm using these gorgeous digitals of these ladies. They are brides. They all have beautiful bridal headdresses on, and what I have done is I have taken Kim's gorgeous laces and trims, and I have cut them up, and I have change the headdresses on every one of these ladies, or these brides, so that they are all have a different look. Now each of the digitals has a different look to the bridal headpiece, but I have just tweak them and change them. Now this one I'm showing you that where each piece and how I cut it and recut it from the actual bridal trim to put together this particular piece on her head. And added the leaves in different places, added a little half-back pearl on in her ear there for an earring. And these are going to be on each one of the envelopes as an accent on the actual envelope itself. And they are going to be mounted in ways that they are either tuck spots or they're belly bands. So they're useful as well. They're printed on a good weight of cardstock, so they have some strength to them and they won't be flimsy. Sorry, I had to take a little break there. I had a terrible coughing fit. I'm just getting over quite a bad cold, and sometimes it just triggers a cough when I do too much talking. So here you can see me, I'm just putting it in place here. That pink pad underneath will prevent it from being glued anywhere where I don't want it glued. So we're starting out by attaching it to this lovely piece of lace from Kim's shop that I have down the right side of the page there. And I want it so that whatever you slide underneath there also can slide underneath the lace. So that's why I have that silicone pad there. And then I'm attaching some of the bow, and this bow is made from that fabric that Kim sent me in my design team package. And then I added one of her beautiful heart blings in the center of that bow. I have those left over from a previous design team package, and I'm just showing you that gorgeous flat lace that I put down the side. It's such a beautiful lace, one of my favorites. And now I'll remove that silicone and pad so it's not in the way, and I can show you there how you can use this as a tuck spot. So you can tuck right underneath her and right into the lace. And then I think if I remember correctly, yes, I do go back and I just put a bead of glue along the bottom so that whatever you're putting in there doesn't slide right through. Because in this case, it's not a belly band, it is a tuck spot. And a good size one, because lots of room to put things in there. So now I'm just flipping that over. Of course, you see that beautiful lace there again, that how we finished off the back of that envelope, and I'm showing you the inside, how nice and big and roomy it is. And that side is finished, that side of the envelope. Now just flip through here. I haven't done anything with any of the pages too much yet. I've added a little tuck spot there, you can see at the top, and I will be adding some lace to that. I think this is the one I have in mind. This is another beautiful cotton lace from Kim's shop, and it's a beautiful complementary color to these papers. And then I want to pick another digital to go on the next envelope. So as I said, each envelope will have one of these gorgeous brides on the envelope. And if you haven't guessed already, yes, this is going to be a I call it Wedding Memories, this particular journal, and I envision it as something that someone could fill the pockets and with lovely mementos from their wedding. They could add in photos and personalize this and make it their own. And I'm hoping that's what someone else will see when they see the finished product. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I actually can't wait to show it all to you. So I'm just showing you there again how the edges look, how you can see the envelopes peeking out on the side, and how I will have, this is another paper clip that I've done. I think this one is a double-sided one, and I will use that on that envelope probably as a closure for it, and then it sticks out as well, and it's got a beautiful piece of Kim's laces on it. There it is on the top there above the photo or the portrait that I picked for this one. And now I'm picking the laces to finish off this beautiful veil and headpiece on this particular bride. So this one I'm going to do with you. The last one I showed you what I had done. This one I'm going to walk you through how I put it all together. Well, actually, you're going to be walking with me, because I'm showing you exactly how I take the laces and I manipulate and cut them so that I can take what I envision in my head and make it come out on the page. And so I have to, cut and manipulate the laces to fit. and I want to use the edge of this particular lace, and this is another one. These are all the laces are from Kim's shop. Now some of them, maybe some from another design team package from a previous month, but they are all ones that I have from her shop. And so you can see how I piece that together. I want it to flow along her face. I don't like much of it to overlap, so I'm cutting little bits of it away that are overlapping because I want them to fit together and look fairly seamless. I mean, you know, we're creating with lace here, so I'm doing the best I can, but that's my idea, is that I want it to look fairly seamless. And there are several layers to how I put these veils headpieces together, so this is only the beginning of this. There's a lot more involved in it, but this is where I start. And then after I laid that down, I was looking at the collar of her dress, and it reminded me of this beautiful flat lace that from Kim's shop, and I just thought it would look beautiful there. So I took a piece of that flat lace and cut off the florals from it. And they're just sort of it's a flat lace with raised. You can see it there on the right hand side of the screen, and I'm cutting away on it. And it's very easy to cut the individual little flowers or the leaves out of it. And that's what I'm using to create the neckline and the collar of her dress that comes up. The reason I went to that is because that needs to be glued on, and the veil part is going to come over top of that. So I wanted to get that cut and in place so that when I'm gluing things together, I do it in the right order, because otherwise things that need to go underneath something end up not being able to fit there because I've, you know, glued it the wrong way. The top of her headdress there, I'm disregarding what you're seeing, the big flower and that. It's not my vision for her headpiece. I want to use a beautiful piece of Kim's lace for that. And that's what you saw me measuring there and starting to look at and use. And it's also a part of this same lace that I am gluing down now along her face. And so I wanted to get this glued down because when I was trying to measure and get the other piece in place, this kept on moving. And so I decided I needed to stop and do a little bit of gluing. And I use just the smallest amounts, little dots of hot glue, in order to position this and keep it in place. I try and use as little glue as possible. I want the project to last, but I also don't want it gummed up with a lot of glue. So we're just finishing there. I finished it around her face, and now I'm adding those pieces in at her neckline, and we'll finish off the collar of her dress and the neckline. And then I'm going to go back to working on cutting out a piece of the lace that I have chosen for the rest of her veil. So as you can see there, see how the lace from her veil comes over top, the one at the neckline. So that was my thinking process and why I jumped to the neckline when I was starting with the veil, because at first I didn't think about that, but it was as I was working on the veil that I realized, oh, I'm going to need to get this neckline done in order to have it look the way I want it to. And these are just individual ways of creating. Everyone would, you know, can do this differently, but I'm just showing you what I do and what works for me. And if you want to try it, great. And if you get some inspiration to try it a different way and combine what other ways that work for you, then that's great too. But these flat laces are absolutely beautiful for using in this way, because they lay so nicely. So here's the top of that lace that goes along with the piece that I put along her, sort of her face. And I'm wanting to use that for over the, so it would drape over the back of her head, basically, is what you're seeing. So I just need to drape it over the top there. And that's why I needed to glue that other piece in place, because of course it was shifting all over. And then I need to cut a piece off. And I do cut it, I don't like to be wasteful. I like to cut a little more than I need, obviously, because you don't want to be short, but I also I'm a little frugal because all these laces are just so beautiful and I want them all to last as long as possible. And so I, try and only cut off what I need. And then that, of course, I only glued it along her face because I knew I was going to want to tuck this lace underneath that edge. So now I get to gluing again. When I'm working with a lace like this and it has embroidery on the netting, I try to glue just behind the embroidery and not where the netting is, because all you end up doing is seeing the glue if you glue where the netting is. Plus, there's a greater chance of burning yourself too. So just going in behind and gluing down a little bit of it so it doesn't move around too much. And then what I will do is I will actually glue down the rest of the lace that frames her face, and that will also hold that thin netted embroidered lace down onto the piece of cardstock. So I don't have to add a lot of glue because I can just add it like I'm doing here onto the backs of these little circles, and then it will glue down everything at the same time. And then once I get that all in place and add a little bit more glue right behind the embroidered flowers, then I will be trimming that off so that we don't have that extra overhang. And the sort of the back of her head is now covered then with this really pretty lace that I have chosen. And there is what it looks like. And I'm still in the layering process. So as pretty as that looks, I still wanted to do more. Every one of these brides' heads pieces were just so much fun for me to create, that I really had. I just went all out, and I really did have a lot of fun. It wasn't stressful at all. It was actually so great, because a lot of the time that I was working on this, I wasn't feeling that great, and this was just a wonderful way to feel better. And I'm trying different things there. I love these sequins, and I wanted to add, this is a sequin fabric that Kim sent me in a design team package. Oh, wow, sometime this year, but I don't remember exactly when. And so I wanted to use some of those sequins on her headpiece, just because they add a little bit of sparkle, and I just wanted to do that. So I tried using a large piece of it there initially, and it just was too big and too bulky. So then I decided I was going to cut some out. So they're in lines on the fabric, and the fabric behind the sequins is kind of stretchy. So I cut out some sequins, and I cut out some more of those flowers from the flat lace. And now I'm back. So I'm not going to have you sit through watching me cutting out all that stuff. But what I did was I cut out some of those flowers from that flat lace, the same one that I used on the collar of the dress. And then I also cut out some flowers from the back of the fabric that was used in the background, on the back of her, sort of on the back of her head. And so that there's kind of like a 3D effect happening. So you can see the flowers underneath initially, and then I'm adding more flowers on top. And then I'm also adding some of those beautiful flowers that I cut out of that fabric on top too. So this is, again, changing the look of this headdress again and again. So there's that gorgeous flat lace, and it also has these gorgeous leaves on it that I've shown you. And I added 2 of those at sort of the base of it, coming there. Coming down at the bottom. And now I'm just going along. I've laid the whole thing out very painstakingly with all the sequins and all the flowers, and now I'm just going along with some glue, and I am very, very carefully gluing them all in place. And I believe that's the end result. And you can see the sparkle there when it caught the light, and I really love how it turned out. I just think it's so pretty. And you can see every layer that I put on there. I'm showing you underneath how you can see the flowers underneath, and then you see the ones on top, and you can see the sequins I added and the extra lace I added on top. It's all there, and it turned out so pretty. This is probably one of the prettiest ones that I ended up doing, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. So now she is going to be mounted on this envelope, and I'm trying to think of how I decided to mount her. The envelope is, some of the envelopes I put them towards the top of the journal and others I put towards the bottom. Because this one is near the top of the journal, I decided to have this one be a belly band. Because you'd be able to slide things into it and they'd be able to slide through the bottom and still be within the size of the journal, because there's, of course, the next page is longer. So that's exactly how I've done it here. I have taken and put glue down each side, and I have mounted her there on the envelope, and she will be a belly band on there. And then with that paper clip, when you put the paper clip back on top, which will hold the envelope closed, this is of course the back side of the envelope. I'm just showing you there how it's a belly band and how it can stick out the bottom if you wanted to put something in there, and it would still be well contained within the journal. And then I put this gorgeous paper clip on, which then works dual purpose. It's pretty. It sticks out the side of the page, which is what I like the look of, because the envelopes stick out. And it also will hold the pocket that is created from this envelope. It will hold it closed. So back again, and let's do a final look at this gorgeous signature that has come together. I had a lot of fun doing portions of it with you, and I hope that you found some inspiration in some of the pieces that I put together, and I hope you will come back and see the final result, which will be a flip through of the entire journal, including the first signature and also the beautiful cover that I created for this Wedding Memories journal. And I thank you all for spending some time with me. Please check out the designers and Kim's shop. Links in the description box below. Thank you so much. I appreciate you so much. And I'll talk to you all soon. Bye for now.